Like none of.
I just told you we're going live.
I didn't hear you. Because I was concentrating on something else. But
Okay, well,
anyway,
stop concentrating. We want your super chats and super stickers. Other than that, let us know what's what.
don't forget to follow
Persephone, let
us.
us know what's what. I'm talking to you.
Don't forget to follow us on Twitch. Don't forget to mute your phone when you open us on Twitch. Also find us on Spotify. Also, please go look at the merch. Also become a channel member because there's great members only content and more to come. Anyway, so we're reading Inside the Criminal Mind by Dr. Stanton Samenow. Last time, when was last time? Monday?
Yeah.
We were talking about the chapter Locked Up. And the next chapter is where he starts to go into rehabilitation. Or the chapter is called Rehabilitation Revisited. And he talks about why most rehabilitation programs fail, right? Because they don't address the actual issues. And then he talks about some of the rehabilitation programs that they do have in prisons, and it was really interesting to me. What programs did you do?
And
What?
what programs did I do in prison?
Yeah.
Let's see. I did anger management. I did anger management again. If I repeat myself, just tell me. I did two different anger managements, so like 15 years apart. So I did tier 2, which is a AA based drug program where you go 3 times a week during the day, and you have to go to one AA or NA meeting at night, or two meetings a week. So three longer discussion groups, and then 2 meetings a week. Also, I also did tier 3, which is similar to that, except for it's more intense. I did tier 4, which is you actually have to go to a separate block to do it. That's like all day long meetings, that sort of thing. Alternative to violence basic, alternative to violence advanced. I was an alternative to violence inmate facilitator for I think 4 years or 5 years. I co-designed the In Prison program with Brent McCall. We ran that for 4 years. What else? Commitment to Change, which was actually designed by Dr. Samenow, but the prison system butchered it. They really didn't do a very good job of it. What else did I do? Let me think. Beyond Fear, which is like a sex education program they have you do. I'm trying to think what the name of that one was. Oh God, I can't remember the name of this other one I did that was pretty decent. I can't remember the name of it though. I'm sorry, I can't. It's
A sex education program.
yeah, that's very strange. Yeah, the other one. Oh, God, I can't remember the name of it now. But there was another one that I did that was like I don't know. I also did a dual diagnosis group, which was for people with mental health and substance abuse disorders. So I did that, and I also was a facilitator in that program for a year or so. Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of any more off the top of my head.
I mean, that's a lot of programs though that you did. I suppose. I mean, you were there for a long time, so maybe
Yeah,
it's not that much.
I
Did
did.
so you
I did
did
everything basically that they would allow me to do. I did.
why?
Oh, domestic violence. They denied me, but then at the end they made me take
Why did they deny?
because I didn't have a domestic violence charge. We went over this before.
Yeah, I remember.
So
That's why I
yeah,
stopped like I stopped before I
yeah.
finished the question.
It's really stressing me out that I can't remember the name of this other program. It's killing me.
It drives me insane when there's something that I should know and I can't remember. I will make myself go
I'm
insane
gonna
trying to
text
remember it.
Carlos and see if he can tell me what it was. He did it too. That's why.
Ah, Um, so you did anger management twice.
There were different anger management programs, different curriculums. They just both were called anger management.
Yeah, well, you did two anger management programs, and anger is still one of the things that you struggle with the most.
Yeah, you can't blame the programs though for that.
Not well. Were the programs helpful? Do you think that they helped you?
No.
That feels odd. Can't blame the programs, but the programs didn't help. Do you
No,
think
but
that
you
those?
can't blame programs because I'm angry.
No, I guess. Do you think that those programs that you
Oh,
went
you know what?
through?
I just remembered another one too. I did a program called Thresholds. It was a decision making program. That's another one that I did. Also, I did this. I can't remember the name of it now. It was a mental health program that was broken down into 4 quadrants. I did that as well.
Again, it sounds like a
Oh,
lot of.
and I did another one called. I didn't go to the program. I just was given the manual and did the program. It was called Cage Your Rage.
So another anger management thing.
Yeah, sort of.
How is Cage Your Rage not an anger management thing?
Well, it kind of is, but it's just not called anger management.
So it's about managing your anger rather than being anger management.
I don't know, Persephone. It was a long time ago. It was a workbook.
Do you think that those programs, the anger management stuff specifically, you say you can't blame the programs, you went through them. Do you think that
No, we
they
could
would
blame we
be.
can blame the programs for being useless. We can't blame them because I'm angry. There's a distinction there.
Okay. Do you think that those programs are useful?
They're as useless as Carlos. I just told him that he's useless because he
Does
can't
he
remember. He can't remember the name of the program. Um, I'm gonna have to go look now, dig through certificates in order to find the name of this freaking program. Um, so
you still have your certificates?
I may have them someplace. If not, I probably have it listed what programs I did. I don't know. So this is what how do I put this? I would rather have you ask me like this. So I'm going to help you out a little bit. What would be an effective program and why weren't these programs effective? Can we ask that or ask why aren't these programs effective? Can we do that?
Sure. I
Okay.
mean, we were going to discuss some of the other things and then go into why they don't work, but sure.
Okay, well then why don't you do it then? You drive the train and do your thing.
No, no. You answer that question. Why did those programs not work?
No, no, Akira. The only program that was only a 2-day program was Alternative to Violence. Okay, so let's go with Katrina's right. The OCD is killing me with the name of this program, and I can't remember the name of it. But anyways, so the the Alternative to Violence program, like I said earlier, it's very short. First of all, it's a 3-day program where you go for a few hours, and then a very long Saturday, and then another few hours on Sunday. Also, the philosophy of the program is basically you're a victim. All people are good. Society's to blame. We need to create a better world. That's the overall philosophy. Within that program, there are some good exercises, like values clarification is one of them. There's a anger escalator, which shows how you go from basically a little irritated and then rage, and how to deal with it throughout that. They have some good exercises, but they're flooded with other stuff that's not good. On top of that, they tell you when you go, you don't have to share if you don't want to. So basically, you can just sit in the corner all weekend, not say a word, and you're going to get the same certificate as somebody else that has participated, that has engaged the conversation, that sort of thing. So you get a certificate no matter what. Even if you misbehave, you'll ultimately get a certificate.
That
So
seems I'm sorry.
yes,
That seems really stupid. Like
it is.
even for a system that we've like established is broken and stupid. That seems extra dumb.
Right. So you start off with a program that's got a poor philosophy. It's too short, and people are getting a certificate regardless of whether they're participating or not. That's the Alternative to Violence project. Also, the Alternative to Violence project consists of there'll be 2 volunteers that come in to the facility from the outside, and then you'll have 4 inmate facilitators. The inmate facilitators, most of the time, are not of good character themselves, so they're not serving as role models for the other inmates. So the other inmates tend to take it as a joke because they say, well, Jesus, these guys are the facilitators. They don't even live this stuff. So, how's it supposed to help me? So that's the Alternative to Violence project, right? That's like the staple program within the DOC.
The one that you
In
can,
Connecticut, I should say.
the one that you can pass whether or not you participate or.
Right. Okay. So I don't want to go over every program, so let's just go over a couple of them real quickly. Let's take Commitment to Change because it's Dr. Samonow's program. Good program. It's run by mental health people, mental health professionals within the facility who are not familiar with Dr. Samonow's work. When you go, the worksheets that they gave us as part of the program that we had to do were not program worksheets. They were staff worksheets. They were the worksheets that the staff were supposed to do to learn about the program. You understand?
How? But why? How and
Because
why?
they don't know what they're doing and they don't care. They just care about running you through the program. And they say, look, we provided a program and you completed it. So you're doing the staff worksheets. I'm not saying that they weren't good or weren't helpful. I'm just giving it as an example of the incompetence that's running the program. So if you've got staff members that aren't familiar with the curriculum themselves, the philosophy behind it rather, that don't even care enough to make sure you're getting the right materials, you can imagine how the, what's the word I'm looking for? The conversations go about the videos. So one day, one guy was saying something and I confronted him. I said, listen, that's, not good. One of the staff members says, well, there's no right or wrong answer. Well, if there's no right or wrong answer, then what the fuck am I doing here? Just let me just keep go along and be a criminal, and there's nothing wrong with it. He's right, I'm right, we're all just right, and there's no sense in this. So even when there was a good program, it wasn't run correctly, and it was it wasn't run correctly. The conversations weren't good. Go to the anger management program that we just talked about. They hand out worksheets. The staff member can't stop the cross-talking that's taking place amongst the inmates. They don't really try. They just whatever. They just want to get through it. So inmates are talking over other inmates. They still get the certificate, even though they're misbehaving in the group. Then they say things like this: everybody's doing the best they can. Bullshit. If they're doing the best they can, then what's the blame? There's nothing there. Well, he's trying. He's doing the best he can. I guess you could say, well, we're going to increase your competence. But then it's not a matter of there's something being wrong with the person's thinking. It's just that the person doesn't know any better. So those are just 3 examples quickly brought out of programs that I've done. Now, that's not good.
No, it's not. It's I can't understand how they would just be like, well, you went through the program, you didn't contribute, you didn't participate, but you sat there. Maybe you were singing show tunes in your head the whole time, but your body was here, therefore you've succeeded in completing this program. So he also talks about like the other things that they do to help criminals reintegrate into society, right?
Yeah.
So like creative stuff.
Oh, for fuck's sake. They have the dog program.
There's actually a whole podcast about that. Did you know that? There's a whole podcast about like the dogs in prison, and it's run by an animal behaviorist.
Well, yeah, well, they do. I mean, at Osborne here in Connecticut, I think at McDougal, they have a program where guys train dogs. I'm not opposed to that. I'm really not. I mean, a good friend of mine is now out, and I think he does that for a living. I, I'm not saying they shouldn't do it. What I'm saying is that's not going to reform anybody. That's the key, right?
Yeah.
It's like they have the hospice program where, the inmates take care of dying inmates. But the thing is, you have a bunch of decent looking nurses down there, female nurses. You also get to get out of your cell and go down there. You get to go down there, and oftentimes they're eating foods that the other inmates can't get. And I'm just like, if I'm ever dying, keep these dudes away from me. Right? You're not going to use my death so you can manipulate and do your little inmate bullshit. But that's what you have.
So that goes back to something that was in the previous chapter, right? Where he talks about my thought when you said that was, I hope that they're only getting the inmates who show some semblance of like being somewhat reformed to
But
do
wait,
that.
hold on. Let's just stop. Stop right there for a second. What signs would they be able to go by?
Well, this is what I was going to say, right?
Okay, all
Because
right.
this is what he covers in the previous chapter. He says there are many inmates who outwardly show signs of improvement, right? Signs of like they're model inmates. They have no like they don't get into trouble, and like outwardly they give every indication even to their loved ones that they are turning their life around. And then when he speaks to them, he sees that they haven't changed at all. They're just very good at pretending. So I caught myself going, well, I hope it's just the reformed people. But then if those guys haven't changed their thinking at all, but they're very good at pretending that they have, not like doing anything wrong, not getting into trouble, like reading a lot and being reformed, like how would you
Right.
know?
Well, so I'll tell you a couple of things from personal communication with Dr. Samenow. I wrote to him when I was in prison. I mean, I exchanged a few letters with him. And I was talking to him about some of my concerns, about myself. And I told him I'm still worried. I said, when we wrote the book Down the Rabbit Hole, there was kind of the, maybe power thrusting that he talks about, power orientation, kind of feeling like, oh, yeah, we're the big shots. We wrote this book. I said, that stuff still concerns me. And he told me, yes, complacency is your enemy. You always want to stay focused and recognize that you always have work to do, basically, is what he told me. That was great. Also, when I talked to him on the telephone before he died, not while he was dying, obviously it was before he died because, but anyway, so I was fortunate that I was able to talk to him, is all I'm saying. And I told him, one of the things was that Subby told me at this point, don't get a job when I first got out of prison. And Subby told me, look, I want you to focus on building the podcast, building your brand. Don't worry about everything else. And so I did that for a while. Now, obviously, I have a job. It's been a long time. But in Samenow, as I was talking to him about what I was doing, he said, see, that concerns me a bit. He said, that's the one area you have to be careful about. The point is that he was always looking and always aware of signs for bad things. And that's what I've been trained to do with myself because of Dr. Samenow, is to always mind my thinking, mind my actions. Where might I be going wrong? Where might I be straying? Because I understand that it's in my interest to do so, right? So, but imagine inmates who aren't familiar with this material, aren't trying to do that. They just become complacent. They think they're doing great. Well, I haven't had a ticket in 10 years. Yeah, well, they don't fucking write them. So it's not hard to go 10 years without a ticket. Or they say something like, well, look, I've done all these programs. Yeah, they're all garbage. That's problematic.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that's really interesting that he told you that that's concerning, that you didn't want to get a job because you were focused on something else, on building the podcast. So
I
that's
was,
still
but he felt that I should have income. that I should be working for money. He didn't like say this is proof you're going to go back to prison. He just says it's a red flag. Just be mindful of it. And I knew he would say that when I told him that. So I knew what was, what his critique would be. I know what his critiques would be of me now. I mean, it's not, a difficult thing to tell.
Okay, now I have to ask, what would his critiques of you be now?
He would say I need to get a hold of my anger. He would probably tell me to not get so engaged in online beefs. He would counsel against that. I think that he would be right. For me inside my own head, it's sort of a dilemma. Do you stay silent in the face of injustice? Do you stay silent in the face of, what's the word I'm looking for here? Things that are contrary to my values, right? Because on the one hand, I believe I have to fight for my values. On the other hand, I know that I have to be careful in regards to my anger and in regards to where it leads. And it's not always a obvious line, right? So I have to be very careful, is what I'm saying. Now, if you notice in my conversations with people, and even when I get angry, and even when I end up arguing, you don't see me say things to people like, motherfucker, watch the way you talk to me. Right?
Or threaten violence.
Don't. Believe me, it crosses my mind. Believe me, it does. But I understand, no, I can't go that route. Right? I can't. And I've been, people have said terrible things to me online. People who would never, ever, ever talk to me like that. Ever. If I was, what I once was. And I just have to suck it up and allow it. And sometimes that's hard. But whatever. I mean, what's the alternative? Just go back to being a violent scumbag? I don't want that.
No, though, according to Samenow, most of them, a lot of criminals, they don't mind that. They don't like it, but they can't change.
Well, they can change. They don't want to.
Well, so he talks about the one guy who wanted to change, but clearly didn't want it enough, right?
Right.
Because
well,
let
me just I want to preempt you. They want to change, but they don't want to put the work in. What they want is to be able to stay out of prison, but maybe sniff some coke on the side, run around banging different chicks, that type of thing.
So how do I say this?
I don't know. Akira Felix wants me to go back to that sometimes because people are such POSs. It bothers him. Yeah, it can be annoying. I'm not gonna lie. It can be very annoying, but it's just not appropriate. Violence is not the answer. It's not the right. Yes, they want the effect without the cause. But yeah, yes, Megan, you're correct. It's just violence and it is not appropriate response to nonviolence. So if people are saying things that are ugly or they're being jerks or whatever, okay, so what? I mean, it really doesn't have to affect me. It doesn't have to hurt me. I know what they are. I mean, whatever. Say whatever you want. It's like, I'll give you an example. It's this whole, thing that's going on we talked about earlier today in regard to Israel. For a lot of time in prison, and I still believe most of what I said then, I defended Israel, right? Now, if I critique Israel, you're a sellout, you're anti-Semitic, whatever. You know what I mean? But look, I defended Israel in arguments with hardcore Muslim murderers, right? I wasn't doing it from behind a microphone in a studio, in another country, right? Or distanced from people who could never get to me. I was face to face with Muslims who were in prison for murder, and I was defending Israel, right? So I know that. So when people want to say things online, it's like, all right, say whatever you want, dude. I know what you are. You know, why, like, why get angry about it? Why upset myself? Why disturb my peace? Why come out and do things that I don't want to do because this person's an asshole?
I, so the thing that I was gonna say, right, is you said they want, or Megan also says that they want the effect without the cause. Yes. But that almost makes it sound like the work of completely changing your thinking, which you've said is very, very challenging. It, to me, it almost sounds like you're saying, well, it's easy because you just have to put in the effort. But it's like a monumental
Wait,
amount of
who
effort. And
said that it's easy? You just have to put in the effort. I never said or
no,
implied
you
any such
didn't.
thing.
You didn't say that. I said it. That's what it sounded like.
No, it's very, very difficult, and it's one reason that they don't want to do it.
Do you think it's possible that they are putting in effort, but like
I
not
th-
all of the effort required?
yes, I think that they don't even understand what the effort entails. And nobody's telling them. I mean, the prison system's certainly not showing or telling them.
Hmm.
I have to go at 3:45 mainly because I want to. So look, I was up late. I was in New York yesterday. I've had a long day with a lot of work, and I just don't want to go beyond 3:45. So I just want you to know we've got a little over 3 minutes.
Fabulous. I have so many more questions, and I'm not going to ask any of them now because I feel like most of them would require
Well, you could
more
save
than,
them for tomorrow.
yeah, I feel like they would require more than 3 minutes. Um, did you do any of the like the arty creative stuff?
No,
Did they offer that at your prison?
no,
They didn't.
no. They
They
have
didn't.
that stuff. I don't do it. What do I look like? No, honestly, I don't have an artistic bone in my body, so.
I was just curious. Besides like the like self-improvement programs, what else did you do that wasn't
Well,
like
I got 2 college degrees, but that was by correspondence. That was, both associate's degrees, but that had nothing to do with the prison. I also got 2 certificate programs, one in psychology and social work, and one in drug and alcohol counseling. But that was also on my own. But they do offer, different types of classes, college classes, stuff like that.
I mean, what do you think of like doing the artistic stuff? Like what do you
It
I know you
depends
didn't.
what you it depends what you mean ultimately. Because if you're talking about art classes where inmates get to go and draw and shit like that, that's fine. If you're talking about like drama club for self-improvement, no, that stuff doesn't work for rehabilitation. Doesn't mean they shouldn't do it. I mean, if somebody wants to learn how to draw or whatever, I'm not necessarily opposed to it. It's just not going to rehabilitate anybody.
No. Oh, I'd like the one question that I really wanted to ask today. I don't have enough time to
Okay,
ask.
go ahead. I'll stay. Go ahead and ask it.
So the thing that he talks about is, or one of the things that he talks about is that in prison a lot of inmates become like voracious readers,
Yeah,
right? But that it does nothing for the rehabilitation.
right.
Now the thing that didn't make sense to me about that is if you are becoming if you're reading, I suppose it depends on what kind of books you're reading. If they're becoming mm, so
That
it
my friend is the key. So let's just look at me, right?
yeah.
Suppose I didn't read any Samenow or any Ayn Rand, right? Let's just suppose, or any Nathaniel Branden, any of the stuff that ultimately helped alter my character. Suppose I studied history, science, and economics,
Mm.
right? And became brilliant at all of them. What you then have is a smart criminal. You have an educated criminal, because I haven't done anything to change the way that I think. My thought processes haven't changed. So he's mostly right, with the caveat that if you're reading stuff like his work or stuff on how to actually alter your thinking and change your criminal, thinking and behavior, that type of stuff, of course, is very helpful to read. But just getting an education won't
And
alter
just
the way you
reading
think.
or just taking job classes. By the way,
No.
if anybody would like to see the list of books that Michael has read, which is like 600 and some odd number, if you go to the YouTube posts tab and you scroll down a little bit, there is a link to the full list of books. Go and check
So
it out.
Akira Felix says, didn't you also take constitutional classes? I have a degree. One of my degrees was in paralegal studies, and with that, there was stuff that was related to the Constitution. But I mean, I've read, on my own, a monumental amount of material on the Constitution.
Can I tell you something very random and then we can go?
Yes.
On video chat, like this,
Yeah.
right? How do I phrase this? You seem a lot scarier than when you see you, like in the video from the forum where you asked a question.
Scarier?
Yeah,
I seem scary?
yeah, you do sometimes. Like I wouldn't fuck with you,
Oh my
right?
God. Have you seen how small I am?
Well, no, because to me you exist from the shoulders upwards. So no. Like in my mind, you're just this is you.
I'm 5'8",
Right.
174 and a half pounds, and 50 years old.
Yeah, but like I don't see you in real life. I just see you on the computer screen, sort of like leaning back and
Well,
glaring at me.
to be fair though, you often see me when we're discussing things that aggravate me. Like when I'm walking around in my daily life, I'm not aggravated. I'm normally just fine and happy and having fun. But when you ask me questions like you did today on everyday ethics, I get annoyed.
I thought it was really funny. Like you can be quite intimidating face to face. So I can't imagine anybody like picking a fight with you because I wouldn't. But then I see you like in the thing and I'm like, you look so you look so unassuming.
I'm very
Like
unassuming.
I'd pick a fight with that guy, but this guy, no.
Yeah. I don't want anybody to pick a fight with me, but thank you. All right, so we're going to be back here tomorrow at 3:15 p.m. Eastern time, right?
Yes. Yes. Also, Akira says Persephone gets easily scared. I wish you could meet me in real life to know how not true that is.
All right, well, she does mess with baboons. Okay, thank you everybody for taking part today, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. Remember, the channel is the Rational Alternative on YouTube. On that channel, we have an abundance of programming. I think you're going to like it. So if you're just seeing us on X or on Twitch, that is where our channel is. It's the Rational Alternative, and it is on YouTube. Also on Spotify, as a matter of fact.
And there is a website, www.thecapitalistcorner.org,
All right.
where you can see those things.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.